Welcome to First Time Buyer Stories, where I chat with real life first time buyers and they will give you some insight on their own home buying journeys. They'll share with some hints and tips to help you make better home buying decisions. If you're a first time buyer, you cannot afford to miss this. So firstly, guys, thank you so much for joining me. It's great to see you again. Before we dive into the questions, would you mind giving us a brief introduction about yourselves, who you are, what you do?
Yeah, I'm Jordan, 27 and an electrician.
And I'm Sophie, I'm 28 and I'm an admin assistant.
Amazing. And Jordan and Sophie were clients of mine, fantastic clients at that, and they've kindly agreed to allow me to ask them some questions today, which I really, really appreciate. So thank you so much, guys. And so we'll just dive straight into the questions, if that's okay.
Yep, let's go.
Perfect, good. So first of all then, just tell us a bit about your first home, what type of house it is that you've got.
So we bought a 3-bed semi-detached in Brackley.
So we have a garage and 2 parking spaces out there to cover at the side of the house as well.
Yeah.
We have
Northwest
facing garden. So basically we get all the sun in the evening, which is better for us. So normally if we're at work or like out during the day, then we can enjoy it in the evenings. Yeah.
Have you had any time to spend in the garden socialising since you've been in?
We've had a little bit. Most of it spent mowing the grass because it's like a jungle out there, but it is what it is.
The new builds, the grass goes so quickly.
Yeah. And all the, like when we're recording this, it's like July. We've just had like loads of rain, then loads of sun. It's just like perfect to make it grow. So yeah, these are all the house buying responsibilities that you don't really think about, you see. You've now got to like mow lawn and sweep patios and all this sort of stuff that is not so glamorous, but I guess...
Put the bins out.
Put the bins out.
Yeah.
We forgot before and I've run down the street in my dressing gown and slippers to try and get them back to empty the bins.
Yeah, and that was literally my next question. Surely you've forgotten to empty the bins by now, because I think every first homeowner does that. So if you haven't done it, that's good. Good stuff. Well, perfect. So I mean, I haven't been to your house because that might be a little bit weird. I'm your mortgage advisor. I haven't been round, but I've seen on social media. You've got a social media page, and you've kind of put some posts on there, and it's like it looks amazing. I mean, the kitchen is like the most amazing kitchen I've seen. So you must be really, really pleased with, now you've actually moved in, and I think you're in the kitchen now by the looks of it, aren't you?
Yeah.
We are, yeah.
Yeah, good. Look at that. Look at that. That's what it's all about. Good stuff. Perfect. So moving on to the sort of before you actually got the property then, tell me a little bit about how, from a deposit perspective, how did you go about saving? When did it start? How long ago did this, was it something that was years in the making? Was it something that you did more recently? What was your strategy to save money?
We kind of started looking around. Well, we said in November time, we're like, with the pandemic going on, obviously we weren't seeing each other as much. We're like, when it comes around to April, we'll have a look at buying, like see if we've got enough money. So then it came to January and we were like, just on the off chance, we'll have a little look around. And we saw a couple of places that we really liked. One went, and then this one that we're in now popped up. So we've been saving like on and off, but like we both save better with cash. So we were just taking it out each month, putting it away somewhere. And then, this place came up, went and had a look. And as we left, we just rang up the sales team and just reserved it there and then.
We literally just fell in love with it. We didn't even look at other houses. We literally just came out and we're like, this is the house. Like,
really?
This is it. We haven't looked at anything else, yeah.
So was that the only house that you guys viewed throughout the whole process?
Yeah, literally, yeah.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, because they say, I think there's some sort of statistic that says anything up to like 15 houses you might view before you find the one. But I always say to people,
it's wild, isn't it?
Yeah, don't feel like you've got to view 15 houses, because quite often, like you guys, there's people, if it feels right, then it feels right. And, sounds like it was.
Definitely.
Yeah, good. Brilliant. Good. So it all happened probably a bit quicker than you first thought then, was it, would you say? Or?
Yeah, I mean, obviously when we went to look at, talked about looking at the first house, but then when we spoke to them, it was gone. then obviously we didn't really want to lose out on this house. So we kind of like hurried everything up as quickly as we could. Like obviously pressuring you, then like the solicitors and everyone else. So
yeah. Good. Wow. Look what you've got now. So all worth it.
that's it.
Good stuff. And then tell me a little bit about, from your perspective, what is it like buying a house in the middle of a global pandemic?
I think it was harder because of the fact when even we were filling out stuff for you, like, it sounds really silly, but obviously to me and Jordan we weren't living together. So we were literally doing everything also via like FaceTime. So like if we were filling in, I would like fill in the forms and stuff. And then Jordan would literally, I'll be like having my ring light, him in the ring light, me typing on the computer and him looking through that. So trying like filling in everyone's details and stuff. It was wild.
Yes. It made it a little bit more difficult per se, but
I think it made it worth it though.
Oh yeah.
So it's like
more of a challenge, wasn't it?
Yeah, we're like a challenge. So it's fun.
Yeah. So it's more logistically, wasn't it? I guess in terms of actually being able to fill out paperwork, and you were like right in the middle of the first lockdown, weren't you, as well? So it was quite strict.
Yeah.
What was going on? So I think some of the calls we had, like I was sat in my spare room, like stroke bedroom on a desk speaking to you, and you guys were in two different locations as well. So.
Like three. It was all three-way calls, didn't we? Every single call was a three-way call.
Yeah, exactly. But we did it, so it's all good. Good. And then in terms of kind of educating yourself on the home buying process and everything that comes with that, like mortgages, what did you guys do from that perspective?
Well, obviously did a little bit of research online, but a couple of our close friends had bought houses recently, so we went to them for advice, and then obviously we speak to you. And just kind of used it all together, took a load of notes, and then just picked, if there was anything that we weren't too sure on, then obviously speak to you in depth, see if you could help us, and then also to like our sale team and stuff as well.
Yeah. So you had other friends, didn't you, that had been, that weren't too far in front of you, that had already bought their houses?
Yeah. So I think because none of our families have bought a house, everyone's like rented. So we're literally the first for all of us that have actually bought a house. So it's just kind of like blind leading the blind, really.
Yeah. But that's like a real big deal, right? Like, you're kind of the first people in your family that have done that. Buying a house doesn't sort of happen every day. It's a pretty big deal.
No, definitely. Yeah. It's like one to tick off that like we were the first ones in the family to do it, kind of thing. So
amazing, brilliant.
A couple of brownie points for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Good stuff. And everyone will be around yours for Christmas dinner now, you see. That's the only downside.
Tom, you should see my roast.
It was
pretty good.
Wow, good. Well, I only live around the corner, so if you ever want to extend an invite, I could try it firsthand. Good. Well, so you kind of had a little bit of help from friends, and obviously, we spoke a lot in terms of through the home buying process. How did you work out how much you could borrow, the budget, what sort of houses, because without knowing your budget and what you could borrow, you don't really know what houses to look for and what houses are going to be plausible. So how did that start? How did that all come about?
So we had a selection of money already, and we kind of did a few online calculators with like incomes to see what the rough average would be. Obviously everyone's different about how much they'll loan you, etc. And then obviously we then spoke to you and just gave you our figures, outgoings, etc. And then you literally gave us the breakdown and said like, this is your budget. Obviously spoke to a few lenders to see if they would approve us to have a mortgage of that value. Which obviously they did, and then we just went from there, really.
Great, perfect, good stuff. And what were your main obstacles throughout the whole home buying process, not just necessarily mortgage wise, but across the whole journey?
The main obstacles, I'd say, obviously with being like going through the pandemic and stuff, was that we couldn't be as hands-on with everything that we'd want to have been. Like obviously a lot of people go and visit their home through various stages of the build. I think we only had two
visits the whole time.
Visits. And obviously just COVID in general was just so hard in terms of just them sourcing materials for the build, and then obviously everything's done via Zoom calls like with you, and then obviously me and Sophie having our own separate ones just to try and iron out all the creases. I wouldn't say there was any major hurdles that we really faced.
Apart from when stuff getting like pushed back, that was getting annoying. And like sometimes with I'm not saying it's every solicitor, but our solicitor, literally no contact until the very end. So
yeah, and I think that was a knock-on effect, wasn't it? Everyone was sort of working from home. Not many people were set up to work from home, coupled with the fact that it was getting quite busy as well. Logistically, it was just, it can be quite tough, and I guess quite frustrating for you guys when you're not getting updates from your solicitor and things as well.
Yeah, and also like with me still being at work, it was so hard to try and like liaise with everyone on the same platform. Like it was fine for Sophie to do, obviously working from home, but like for me to try juggle work with chasing down like 10 people was like quite difficult, but we made it work. So
you did a good job of it. But I can, you're not sat behind a desk every day, so it's a bit more tricky for you when you're out on site and a bit more hands-on to be able to make those calls. So I get that. And then obviously you bought a new build. I'm a big fan of new builds personally, but they're not for everybody. Were there any challenges for you or any drawbacks to a new build? What would you say?
I think for us it was, I don't know for everyone, but all our options got chosen for us.
Okay.
So basically everything we have in our house now, like even the kitchen, which we love, everything was chosen for us.
Yeah.
So it's kind of just like we had to kind of like battle for some stuff. At
the same time, it was a good, like, it goes hand in hand. It's kind of bad because obviously we didn't get everything per se that we wanted, and obviously I've gone around and changed a load of lights and stuff like that, but also at the same time we probably could have overspent by thousands.
Yeah, that's true. Silver lining of it that you didn't have that option to upgrade as much. So and I think for those of people that are interested in buying a new build, there are cut-off times in which the builders will allow you to purchase, you to decide on the options. So things like the kitchen cupboards, the flooring, tiling, those sorts of things. But once you get past that cut-off, then the builder themselves will pick something that they think is going to be sort of widely liked or widely universal. So this is what kind of happened with Jordan and Sophie, is that they were just past the cut-off time where they could actually pick a lot of it themselves. But thankfully, what was chosen was absolutely lovely. But potentially saved you guys some money as well. So that's all good. What would you say then was the most, I think you probably touched on this a little bit, but what would you say was the most stressful part of the whole process?
Maybe waiting, the time you have to wait for like the mortgage to be approved and everything. But always just like the waiting is like the worst part, is always just wondering.
Yeah, we see that quite a lot because
like obviously you go through various stages of, like, at the start we hear an awful lot from you and not a lot from the solicitor, and then you go through like a null period where you don't really hear from anyone, and then at the end all it is just like sales team and solicitors like banging on your door, and then we don't hear much from you, and then you tie in a little bit at the end as well. So it's,
obviously everything's going on behind the scenes, but I think, well, for me personally, I like to also know like who, what, why, when and where, and when everything goes a bit like no one says anything, you're like, oh, what's going on? Yeah,
exactly. And I think that's, buying a house is incredibly exciting, but this highlights that it's also quite overwhelming, quite frustrating, quite daunting.
100%,
yeah. And different people have different sort of parts to play along the process. So you're right, early doors, it's sort of all about the mortgage itself, getting the mortgage through, getting it applied for, getting the valuation done, getting the mortgage offer approved. Once that's done, it kind of then, whilst as a mortgage advisor, we would never leave you sort of completely high and dry. We're always on hand. It does really then to the solicitor, who will sort of take the baton from there and push it through. And so you kind of then don't hear as much from the mortgage advisor, but should hear more from the solicitor. Doesn't always work that way, as we've experienced, but you're going to find these people kind of play more key parts at different stages as such. So, okay, cool. And what would you say you enjoyed the most about the whole process?
It's a tough one. There's obviously receiving the keys is massively enjoyable, like just walking up and then them handing you your keys and just being like, this is your house now. And then you're just there like, that's pretty mad.
I still, even like now, we've been here like just over a month, we're still like, this is our house. Like, it's like honestly, on days it still doesn't like seem real.
It's just one big holiday, I reckon.
Yeah, good.
With all the bills.
Yeah.
With the bills, exactly that. Yeah. So what sort of bits of advice, anything at all that you can think of, what would you give to, if there was other people, if you could do it all again, if there's any advice you could give to other first-time buyers, what would that be?
I'd say make a spreadsheet, like to start with, just make a spreadsheet of all your ingoings and then all your outgoings as well. And then just look at like little bits on how you can save money. So like with me and Sophie, so we both had like Netflix and Amazon Prime accounts. Yeah. Why not just share? And then you cut that down, even though it's only like 15 quid a month that you're saving, it's still that extra 15 quid. And then obviously like if there's a way that works for people to save, so we were really good with like cash saving, then do it the way that works for you. Like if you need to transfer money to a relative for them to hold it so that you can't spend it, then do it that way.
I literally at one point had so it sounds really bad now, but like I had like a Tupperware just full of money because I think even now, like if we spend money on a card, even in general everyday life, you feel like you don't spend it because on a card. That's us. And then what I did is basically like we both just cut off like stuff we cut off like with like the gym, because obviously because of COVID it was closing down anyway. If like you didn't need to go to the gym, don't do that. Like I got my phone down to like the minimum that we could and everything like that. Just like little stuff that is like I'm really bad spending money, like even like clothes and stuff. Do I really need it? No. Like it's like when you're like buying a house, it's more of a do I want this or do I need this? And I think I've actually through the process it actually carries on in life and stuff as well. So it's just like, do I want this? Yes, but do I really need it? No. That actually helps to this. I think this has actually become like a learning curve for me personally, like actually help me not spend stuff, because now it's just like, oh, do I really need that £10 top to wear once? No, no, I don't.
And also I feel that like buying during a pandemic was so helpful. You can go out to the pubs and spend like £100 on a night out. And also like you weren't, the way it worked for me was if I took it out in cash, I couldn't go and spend that cash anywhere because we weren't allowed to go anywhere. So it's just like, if I've got it on my card, just take it out, it's fine.
So I think I guess to summarize then, it's kind of like there is not necessarily a one size fit all approach. Do whatever works well for you.
No, not at all.
For you guys, saving in cash and having that was what worked for you. Other people that might be saving into an ISA. But I think a great bit of advice there for you, Sophie, was the whole, being quite disciplined and, difference between needing it and wanting it. And yes, just stopping a Netflix bill probably isn't going to be life-changing, but whether it's Netflix, then it's Amazon, and then it's that top, and then it's takeaways, and it's, a night out down the pub, these things add up and they consolidate and they snowball, and all of a sudden you've saved lots of money. And, I think that's great advice for other first-time buyers out there in terms of, and good life advice in general, because you're right. Now you're in a home, you've got lots of bills to pay, it's the unglamorous part. It's council tax and gas and electric. And so you need to be budgeting ongoing to make sure that you can afford those, because, they do tend to go up with inflation and things like that. So I really like that. That's a great bit of advice. Anything else that you would add there at all?
And like also, also I was never really big on saving, but as soon as you start to see your money like increase, like you'll hit your stages of like £5,000 and you're like, oh, £5,000. Oh, let's push it to 10. And like just hitting those little landmarks, like the milestones all the way through. It's just like, oh, that's mad. And then the daunting bit is when you pay your deposit and it goes from being up here.
It's all gone. It's like, But it's almost like it's like motivates you. It motivates you. I think it's like anything in life. If you, I don't know, start going to the gym and you see you're losing a bit of weight or you're putting on a bit of muscle, you're like, oh, I like the way I look, I'll carry on doing that. And it's the same with saving. It's like, oh, 5k, that's amazing. I can't wait to get to 7.5k or 10k. And I think, those little milestones are what, again, it all snowballs and adds up. It's, if you think at the beginning, God, I've got to save 15, 20 grand or whatever, it seems such a big task, but just those little incremental steps, I think is what the ones that you should focus on. That's great.
We went at the start from having literally nothing, and at the end of like the pandemic, well, we've obviously bought a house. So like it can be done no matter how. You can be really tight and get it done quick, or you can just do it over a period of time that works for you.
And I think that is brilliant advice, because it is about discipline and making some sacrifices and deciding what you really, really want, because there's not many people, young people like yourselves, that can go out and buy houses without making sacrifices. Of course there are, there's people that get help from family or whatever it might be, but you guys are proof that you've done it by yourselves. You've worked hard, you've saved hard, you've sacrificed things, but look what you've got at the end of it. So, I think that's again, really great advice. Any other hints, tips that you would share with anyone else that was just starting off on the journey?
Oh, I don't know. I'd say, like, when you move in, keep the same attitude to still wanting to save money.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, now we're in, me and Sophie are still like, yeah, we'll pay bills, but then also still push, because, like, otherwise, obviously, you're in your house. Like, some people might get their forever home straight away, but if you do want to upgrade and move to a newer house, a bigger house, then at least you're still putting the money away each month as you were before you even got your house.
Exactly. Yeah, good sound advice. Good. So to finish up then, final question, was it all worth it?
Yes.
Yeah, 100%.
100%.
It's just nice to have, even though we're both living with our parents now, it's just kind of like we have our own life now, if that makes sense. Because it's just like, obviously during the pandemic, we're just stuck with everyone. Now it's just like we can have the house the way we want, live the way like we want, and it's just
it's many sleepless nights and tears along the way, but 100% worth it.
Yeah,
I'll do it again.
And that's it. They don't say it's one of the most stressful things you're going to do for no reason. It does come with its stresses, but it's about sort of having the right people in your team helping you along the way to get there. And it's not going to stop the stresses, but it's potentially going to minimize that. So, you guys, for me, are a huge, huge inspiration to other people that are potentially wanting to buy, what you've done, what you've sacrificed and where you are now. So I really think that, all the things you said today are going to help other people. So thank you so much for kind of spending some time sharing your story. I've found it, we've even learned a few things that I didn't know. And we've worked together for a number of months getting you where you are. So thank you so much. So if people do want to kind of follow your journey and find out a bit more about you, you've got an Instagram page that they can follow. Is that right?
So I have the Instagram page for the house. It's called The Marne Way.
Yeah. And that's on Instagram.
Yeah.
Good. So if you want to catch up with Sophie and Jordan and see what their new lovely house looks like, I've seen a post today about a new sofa, which looks amazing. So you must be pretty delighted about that as well.
Come on Tuesday.
Yeah, good. So you can check the guys out on there. But yeah, other than that, thank you so much again. And I think that's all for today. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us, Tom. Thank you for your help.
Not at all. You're welcome.